Hi, welcome to Why This Now. It's good to be back. I had my battle with COVID for 3 weeks. I was in bed. A couple days I thought I was going to see Jesus. So yes, it's a real thing, which for those of you who were thinking it wasn't that bad, as I knew it was bad, but anyway, glad to be back. I missed doing our post, and I was originally going to do joy versus joyless during this holiday, but now that we're closer to the actual Christmas, I wanted to work on the post that I wanted to post for this week, especially with Christmas coming upon us. And I'm calling this one No Room at the Inn for Grief, because this time of year is when grief comes unexpected. It's a visitor we don't want to welcome. And so I just wanted to share a few things that I do, and hopefully that this will help you, because I know this is a tough time for a lot of people. We have lost loved ones that are not with us this year for Christmas to participate in our celebrations and our traditions and to make new memories. And it can be a very difficult, sad time. And the loss of a loved one is with us forever. And it is not something that you work through and move on and be done. And I know that there are a lot of platitudes out there that people say that have not experienced this. And I just ask you to give them grace, but still you can be honest with them and say, it is not something that you get over. This is something that you live with and you bring into your new reality. And I know that sounds heavy, but it is. It's an emotional work. Grief is an emotional work. And my first video that I did a few months ago on grief, I talked about losing our son, Killian. And we have other family members that we have lost that we will not have with us for Christmas this year. Although Killian is the one that I revisit, missing him often. I miss the new memories, and I have to be mindful that I'm not the only one. We tend to think of, well, what about me? What about me? Right? But it's our whole family and his siblings that don't get to have new memories with him this year. And so what are the things that we can do? And I wanted to share with you some of the things that I do to help move through this. There's none of our loved ones would want us to go into these celebrations and these traditions and these holidays as we gather together and be overwhelmingly sad missing them. They would not want that. And I know that for sure. And Killian loved Christmas. And so one of the things that I do to work through this is I think about what he loved about Christmas. And I think about some of our fun memories that we've had for Christmas over the years, and I treasure them. That we had 19 years with him and had so many great memories. And so that's where I go to, because I'm not going to let joy be robbed by the thief of grief. It's not going to happen. Our minds are very powerful. If you have the Holy Spirit living with you, you are unbeatable. Nothing can beat you. But you have to remember that we have to use our minds, and we have to use the steps that work for us to make sure that we can not let grief be a thief in our life. Grief is not linear. It's not something you just move through the stages of shock, denial, anger, acceptance. You don't move through them and then you're all done. Sometimes any one of those will be revisited. And for me, it's anger. And the circumstances that were leading up to Killian's death, there were other people involved, although he was the main participant. There's still that anger that I have to, if it comes back in, I have to revisit that and go, no, I'm not going to let that rob me of what's going on right now. We have to be present, but we can still reminisce all the positive things that we had with that person that we loved so much. So one of the first things I do and grief comes in, it just like slaps you in the face. And I know a lot of you are nodding, going, yes. And you think, where did that come from? It doesn't even have to be a trigger, although we all have our own triggers that will bring that up. And I did talk about that in my first video also. But so for me, what I do first is I speak the gratitude of, I had Killian for 19 years. I had so many fun memories with him. Such a great personality, the laughter, the hugs, the best hugger ever. Now everybody in heaven gets to enjoy his hugs. That's going to be so exciting for me. Right after I hug Jesus, I know Killian's going to be right behind him one day. And then the next thing I do is I just remind myself that, because we believe as a family that we will be reunited again in heaven, that is my hope and my promise that I get from God. If you don't have that, especially this time of year, because that is the real meaning of Christmas, it's why we celebrate, is because God came to earth to show us how to love each other and to redeem us back to him. That's oversimplified, but that is the Christmas story. So while we miss him terribly, we know we'll be reunited with him, and I hang on to that promise. And then, like I said earlier, we always think about, well, what about me? How am I going to get through this? Well, how am I going to get through this? Yes, how are you going to get through this? And take that time for yourself. One of the things that happens to me is that I can recognize when I'm starting, I call it a spiral, and I spoke to this in great detail in the other video on grief, so I'm not going to bring it up again. I have to go watch the video. But I can feel my emotions start to get very tender, and I feel overwhelmed by whatever situation I'm in. Usually it is with my family or with really good friends, or in a environment that I had participated in past years, like either as a family or with Killian. And so I know that when I feel that start to happen, the best place for me is to step out of that situation and go somewhere else. If I can come home, then I like to come home. That's my refuge. If I'm out and about, I just need to go get a coffee somewhere, or just walk in a bookstore, whatever it is that works for you. But then to be able to cut that off, and so you can regroup. You have to remember, this is the main thing, is that we don't want grief to be a thief. Not in our lives. Cannot be a joy robber. We cannot allow that door to open. And then talk to whoever you're with, either in that moment if you can. If you can't, then regroup with them later on and let them know what's going on. We all want to be able to encourage each other. And so anybody that has been with you through this walk of grief, what is the one thing they always say? What can I do to help? What can I do to help? And oftentimes in the very beginning, you have no idea, because you don't even know. But as time passes, you start to realize there are some things that other people can help you with when this happens. For me, my first flinch is to pray. Please just pray for me, pray for my kids, pray for what's coming up in this holiday, because our family is so important to us in all these traditions. So praying for us is a big difference. And then, resilience. I did a video, I think it was the last one I posted before I got sick, on resilience. Choose it. Choose it. Not to be overwhelmed. Do not say, oh, this will pass and tomorrow's a new day. No, and that's in another one of my videos. We're not just to live to get through today, to get to tomorrow. We're going to live today, because today is where we are. This is our why this now. Why this now? Why am I doing this right now? And so you need to slam the door on grief and tell grief there is unwelcome visitor. There is no room at the inn for grief. And so for the season coming up here, we're wrapping up our Christmas season and getting ready for our New Year's. And I wish for you to find your joy. Hang on to your joy. Think about what brings you joy. Bring the people around you, let them in, let them share with you, and ask them too how you can be an encouragement to them also. I would love to hear feedback on this. If there's any particular part of this video that you want to email me at whythisnow, the number 63 at Gmail. Please email me if there's a future topic you want me to expand on from this for grief or anything else. Please let me know, especially for the new year. I have a few topics I'm working on, but I would like to be able to meet your needs, to encourage you so that you may have your joy, peace, and hope in your Why This Now. Merry Christmas, friends, and I'll see you in the new year.